live streaming. We're on Twitch right now. And for anybody who's already hopped on, welcome to our stream. Today I'm with Branden Byers in Madison, Wisconsin, who is a JavaScript developer and does a lot of QA with AngularJS. And we're going to be working on our courseware, our upcoming, what we're now calling Waypoints, specifically the JavaScript-related Waypoints. So I'm going to pull this tool over here too, Branden. And let me show you real quickly. This is called MooBot. This is kind of how we manage Twitch. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the topic. If I can figure out where that is. I might need to just refresh this. Yeah, I'm going to refresh this. So,
is MooBot a third-party tool?
Yeah, it's a third-party tool. It's not actually owned by Twitch. It was created by somebody who, like a team of people who wanted to have a better way to interface with Twitch when they were broadcasting. So I don't see the field where I can enter the current topic. So I'll actually go to Twitch itself real quick and enter that. And it'll take about 2 or 3 minutes to set up. Just a little heads up. We tried to automate this process, but the automation was suboptimal.
Okay.
Oh, that was loud. So I'm going to edit this topic right here, and we'll change it to building JavaScript waypoint challenges. All right, and I think that did not. Doesn't look like it did. So my machine is always like really hammered when I run OBS, so I need to close everything that I'm not immediately using. And probably we don't even actually need to use RubyMine here. We can probably just use Sublime, which is a lot lighter. I'll pause this. A couple notes. Screen Hero has a known memory leak, and it's basically like a not fix. Like they're not going to bother fixing it. So as the session goes on, like the RAM gets depleted and it gets a little bit slower, and I have to do things to clean it up. But we'll work around that.
Is that with like the latest update, or?
Yeah, I think the old one may have it too. I need to log in. So the title of this broadcast, and Twitch has some serious UX issues. Like, for example, it let me try to edit it when I wasn't properly logged in, which just did nothing. So we'll call this Building Waypoints with Branden Byers. Yeah, there we go. Okay, great. And now I'll take that, and what I do is I tweet it out. And do you have a good picture of yourself? Okay, great. Now I'll take that, and what I do
just grab
is
the one right on.
it out. Sure. If you can shoot it to me, I always like to tweet with an image.
Okay.
This yogurt yum one's pretty funny.
Oh, yes, that's definitely old.
I know you're all about fermentation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can just use that top, any of those top ones up there.
Okay, let's do this one. This one's good. All right, cool. And is your Twitter handle pretty active?
Relatively so, yeah.
Okay, great. I'm gonna actually delete this tweet and retweet it with your actual Twitter. Branden Byers.
It's actually full spelled out Branden Byers.
There we go. All right, cool. So, and then what I like to do is there are multi-steps here, but believe me, it's worth it. It does result in like more people coming and watching.
Okay.
Then I'll go to Getter, and I'm gonna post this real quick in the chat room, the general chat room. And then finally, there's this subreddit called Watch People Code. And I'll submit a new link. So this gets picked up by watchpeoplecode.com.
I don't know if I'm familiar with that watch.
This in. And then I'll just tweet it or share it. And then it's going to give me a warning that it's already been submitted, so I will submit it again. Submit. Okay, and now that's going to show up on there as well. So we're done with all the setup work. I'm going to play, I just play like this chill out music in the background, or actually it looks like it's going to play a DJ Shadow album. So I'll just throw that in the background on my other screen, and we can start working on this stuff.
All right.
Turn the music down just a smudge. Thank you all who are watching for bearing with our arduous setup process. Okay, so now we can actually start. So I'm just going to go ahead and go into, I'm going to check out get branch. I'm going to look at all the branches outstanding, and one of them is JS courses. So today you and I are going to work on the JavaScript related courses. Check out JS courses. Get poll origin JS courses. Okay, we're already up to date, and we have change in this bundle.js, so we don't actually need that. Get reset. And get reset dash hard head. Okay, and now we can run gulp, and that'll fire up our browser with the view. And we're getting this warning just on this branch. We've already fixed this. This branch actually hasn't been touched in about 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
And then the other thing we're going to do is open up Sublime, which actually I can just open a new window. So whenever I develop courseware, Branden, I always have gulp running in one window, and then I have another window that's in the same directory. And here we can just do s dot, and that'll open up my entire thing in Sublime. So I'll just save. I need to save this real quick as what are we calling this? We're calling this notes for Heroku deploy from c9.io. Okay, it doesn't like that because of the name, so.
What makes cancer tenacious? The moon rules the fluids, including the inner juices of human beings. That which assimilates and feeds the body.
That's really weird.
So the crab feeds his astral brain, assimilating and distributing all he receives, slowly, until it becomes a part of him.
We'll store it on the desktop. Okay, that worked. Slide deck doesn't need to be saved. Okay, so now I'm in Sublime, which I don't normally use. Normally I use RubyMine, but for the sake of not killing my poor little MacBook Air, I'm going to use Sublime today since we're just manipulating JSON. And we can go ahead and open up the courseware.json. And I think if we scroll toward the bottom, that's where our JavaScript challenges are. Have you had a chance to look at any of these, by the way?
Not the JavaScript ones. Not very much. I had a couple times where I tried to look, but some of the DDoS attacks on GitHub were not very convenient at the times I was trying to view it. I couldn't get to GitHub or pull down. Have you run into any of those issues?
Yeah, there have been some DDoS attacks on GitHub that have made things inconvenient in the last 24 hours. But I didn't really experience any specific issues since, like, this branch hasn't been touched in like 2.5 weeks, like I said, so I didn't actually have anything to pull.
Oh, sure, that makes sense. Yeah, in order to get the most recent, it took a few different attempts at different times to get the actual pull to go through. It kept timing out. Well, okay, because it's still even labeled courseware as JSON. What's the new wording, waypoints? What is that meant to?
Right. Yes, Seven Albusa also asked that question. So waypoints are basically what we're going to call our current challenges. So we have basically 4 different types of challenges now. We have, and all of these are subsets of the challenges. I don't know if you got a chance to watch our video yesterday, like our meeting.
No, I didn't. No.
Okay, so we had, first of all, we have what are called the waypoints. And these are the traditional challenges we previously had, which are being gradually knocked out as we replace them with our own in-house challenges. So basically, like, right now we're recommending General Assembly Dash, for example. We won't be recommending that anymore after we've finished our HTML and CSS module of waypoints. And it'll basically just be like exactly like the courseware, which I'll go ahead and bust one out just so you see what it looks like. It looks very similar to bonfires at this point.
Okay. This would be the same as what I would have seen like 3 weeks ago, right?
Yes, we haven't had any big changes in the curriculum since then. So this is like this is just an example when we did meet booleans, you know, and you change it to true and then you run it, and it's just like a bonfire in that respect. These JavaScript challenges are essentially Bonfire. It's just that they're much more scoped and much more hand-holdy and designed to be completed within 30 to 120 seconds. So those are the traditional. This is the first set of challenges, basically. The second one is our Bonfires, which no big changes there. Third ones are called zip lines. These are parsing. So basically, using CodePen and parsing JSON and rendering it in visually appealing ways. So it's basically front-end work. It's basically like you receive some data and you have to render it in a way. So we'll give them, like, for example, right now, we give them all the data from our Trello board, like our nonprofit project Trello board, and then they can pull the images as necessary and do things like that and get it all in shape.
Okay.
And then finally, we have what are called our base jumps. And our base jumps are basically, I'm going to choose some less heavy. Okay, Seven Obus actually has tried the courseware. Cool. Yeah, we'd love your feedback on those. Those are all very tentative, and we really are just getting started with them. But so the base jumps are where you would use Cloud9.io or C9.io. Have you ever heard of that or used it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that going to be? That's just a cloud server that you can work in, right?
Correct.
Like a remote dev environment.
Yeah, it's C9.io plus Heroku for deployment. So basically, you'll clone a repo, and you'll build some sort of CRUD app, and then you'll deploy it, and then both zip lines and baselines are human graded, which is an important distinction from the waypoints and the bonfires. Like an actual human being will look at your code and give it a pass or fail.
Okay, and that makes sense too, because those are also things that aren't meant to be relatively quick. I'm assuming people are spending more time on the zip lines and base jumps.
Right. Yeah. Like my estimation at this point is zip lines, if you knew what you were doing, would be like an hour or two, and base jumps might be 10 hours. We're using mean.js currently, so you have to first get familiar with mean.js and its conventions well enough to actually build stuff out.
Sweet.
So then after they've done all this stuff, then they do the nonprofit projects. And those just go on until they get a job.
And are those... Oh, cool.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is the idea with the challenges that it's still around 100 hours?
So we've expanded that to be closer to 200 hours. These waypoints themselves will probably ultimately be 100 hours.
Okay.
So my thinking is we'll need about 3,000 waypoints. And if you think about that, 3,000 times 2 minutes equals 100 hours.
Okay.
So that ideally, we'd have like 3,000 of these. We'd have like 100 bonfires, and then we'd have like maybe like 20 or 30 zip lines to choose from, but you'd only need to do maybe like 5. And then for the base jumps, maybe there'd be like 20 as well, and you'd only need to do like 3 or something like that. So that basically you have, as you get farther along in the program, you have more decision power in terms of what you want to do and stuff.
And then people that really just have a lot of time on their hands or just really want to get as much as possible, they can also do, say, as many of those zip lines or base jumps as they...
Right.
If they felt like they really wanted that extra reassurance.
Right. There will be like we'll probably have some minimum threshold, like you have to do at least 3 zip lines and 3 base jumps or something like that, but feel free to do more to feel more confident. The issue we're facing with the nonprofit projects is not that people aren't doing a good job with them. They are. It's more of an issue of confidence. People just don't feel confident after having completed the challenges that they'll actually be able to succeed with the nonprofit projects. So
And that makes sense because people are coming from all different levels of understanding. So some, I mean, I know that that's kind of like for myself. It's like, sure, I'm relatively new, was relatively new to JavaScript, but I had a little bit of other coding experience that I dabbled in, and then I've been using computers since I was a young kid. So like I've been in some bit of a tech mindset for a very long time, whereas like, especially if some people are coming into this and they don't even have any tech background whatsoever, I could definitely see that confidence would definitely be something that they'd want to build.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that's one thing that the boot camps do a good job of, is they give people confidence. And we want our campers to feel confident that they can learn what they need and that they can get past the inevitable roadblocks in their understanding and in getting things done. So we think that these exercises, in addition to giving them practice before they actually start on a nonprofit project, will also, just augment their confidence.
Yeah, sweet.
So
then,
sorry. And the other good thing about this, like from our perspective, it's a lot of work to set up the nonprofit projects. And a lot of people are finishing our challenges, and we haven't been able to get them a nonprofit project yet because it's just like there's a big backlog. This gives them more stuff to do while we get them set up with a nonprofit project. So we're hoping to launch these in the next week. Actually, like we're hoping to get them out there immediately. And then the Waypoints is the thing that's going to take a long time to actually finish.
Yeah, the Waypoints with 3,000. How many in there are you thinking about for JavaScript specific?
Probably about 1,500.
Okay, so it will be the biggest chunk.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I'm thinking the Waypoints will work is, this is just very naive, but maybe like 500 for HTML, CSS, jQuery, and Bootstrap. And I put Bootstrap in there because, frankly, it's like the shortcut to actually building decent looking websites, conventional looking websites. And I think whatever you build, it has to be mobile responsive these days, and that's a good quick way to do that. Also, jQuery isn't theoretically necessary. You could just build everything with like Angular and not use jQuery, but it's so ubiquitous that we think that people should learn it. I mean, pretty much every employer is going to expect you to have some knowledge of jQuery. It's just like one of those assumed skills for web developers, in my opinion.
And at 500, including that in the 500 Waypoints, it's not as if they're going to become experts in it. So like they'll know enough if they ever need to use it. They can use it. If they choose to go a different direction, they can do that too.
Right.
It's not going to hurt for them to know it. It's not like it's going to spoil them as a developer just to know something, even if people are going in different directions.
Right. And then I think there's just going to be a ton of JavaScript. Like this is the one skill that if they learn nothing else thoroughly, they should learn JavaScript. And this will also include, computer science concepts, design patterns, functional programming, and then ideally we'd like to have stuff that focuses on like getting Node, Express, Angular, Mongo, like the full stack stuff. So that way that they get some formal education in it, and I'm using the word formal to mean like education that's been concertedly designed, rather than just trial by fire with the zip lines or the base jumps.
Yeah, well, and since like you're talking about, they're fast paced. They're meant to be easy to grasp, but it's really going to depend on the learner whether or not they grasp it in those quick things, or if that's just like lays the foundation and they really start to grasp it once they're like digging into those zip lines and base jumps. Because I know that's for like myself, that's how I really learn the best.
Absolutely. And my sentiment is you don't need to have a firm grasp, but you need to have some baseline before you attempt to try to build stuff. And otherwise you're just going to thrash, and you'll learn like all kinds of weird bad practices, and you won't understand what's actually happening. It'll all seem like magic to you. You might be able to get things to work, but I mean, that's kind of how I learned. It was really frustrating, and I wish, in retrospect, that I had spent more time early on learning fundamentals.
Yeah, and for myself, like the way that I've always learned is I spend so much time on fundamentals. Like I just really want to understand the theory of everything. And at some point though, like I realized if I don't actually try and apply this, it's just not going to stick. Like it's and then that's where some of the tougher theories start to actually make sense. Is like just jumping in and doing it. And so yeah, I mean, I'm sure people are going to come to this learning in all different kinds of styles, but this gives like a good bath of everything so that they can eventually come out understanding.
Right. Yeah.
And feel confident.
Exactly. So the whole goal and the big challenge is striking the balance between theory and practice, between boring and like meaningful, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
Because if you do something like GA Dash, like it feels really fun and zippy and stuff, but you're not really learning as much as you would if you did something like, I think Code Academy is actually a lot more probably useful, their HTML course, but it doesn't engage as well. So like we wanted to start people off early with something fun and with small wins, so we went with that. Yeah. I'm going to take just a second to talk here with Seven Olbusa, who's been posting some interesting comments in our chat room.
Sorry, I'm still trying to get into the chat room. I hadn't signed in since Twitch required password changes, so I'm almost to the chat room, so I'll see it soon.
Yeah, so everybody had to change their passwords, huh?
Yeah, I think that I remember getting that email like a week or two ago, and I haven't been on since.
So Seven Olbusa asked, these challenges sound great. They seem like a big improvement from the earlier challenges. Are the waypoints going to teach mean? Yes, our goal is to teach full stack JavaScript, whether that is Angular or React, whether that's Express or Happy, whether that's Node or IOJS. That's kind of to be determined, but almost certain. I mean, most likely we're going to stick with mean. I am somewhat reluctant to even teach Angular, frankly, just because I don't really use it a lot. And I think you can do a lot of stuff without it. But I think that it is beneficial to learn at least one of the front-end development frameworks. Hey, Thiago, welcome. Yeah, Twitch has been kind of slow lately. Seven Olbusa also asked, or said, I'm currently learning from the Node.js and MongoDB course on university.mongodb.com. Yeah, that's a great course, and frankly, like, that's the most comprehensive way you can learn MongoDB. However, it's not self-paced, and we have 3 criteria for all the courseware we use on freeCodeCamp. It has to be free, it has to be browser-based, and it has to be self-paced. So because of that, we decided to recommend Try Mongo, which is extremely short. You can do it in like 30 minutes, but it primer to MongoDB at your convenience. Pocky, welcome back. Isn't Angular like super popular when it comes to JS jobs though? Yes, it is, absolutely. Angular is huge, and I'm going to post a little article here from the blog into the chat. I wrote this back in November, but I think it's still quite relevant. I mean, it seems like absurd that I have to say I wrote it 5 months ago, but I think it's still relevant. But that's how fast things are moving. Okay, so Branden, are you ready to actually start building some courseware? Some waypoints?
Excellent!
Hey, Thiago, thank you very much for following us. Thiago is a regular in our Gitter chat rooms, and he's contributing to a lot of projects within freeCodeCamp right now.
Sweet.
Okay, so let's take a look at the internal infrastructure of this. For you, Branden, this will not be a surprise at all. This is basically exactly how our bonfires are structured. We've got a name. We have a difficulty field, which is a decimal value that determines the position of this challenge and everything else. And then we've got our description, which maps to this. The first line shows immediately, and the rest shows if you click on that button.
Excellent!
Hey, Maximization, thank you very much for following. Maxim is working on some of our nonprofit projects right now, and he's actually very familiar with Mean.js. He was showing me some Mean.js stuff the other day, which is one of the reasons I decided, well, if Mean.js is good enough for Maxim to build his nonprofit project, then maybe it's ready for our other campers to learn. And I looked at the other roll-up packages, and I'm convinced that Mean.js is the best organized. Okay, so you can see description and then the tests, and you can have as many of these tests as you want, and they'll run with every keystroke. So if I change that, or actually they don't run with every keystroke in this. They just run when you hit run. On the front-end development frameworks, which I can show you real quick, Branden, just to give you some context, like what we're doing with our JavaScript related ones. Have you seen this before?
Yeah, I went through when they first came out. I went through like the 16 or 20 that were there. But
you can see,
and
bam.
it looks like it's relatively the same now.
Yeah. So basically, the difference is these are much more similar to our bonfires. Basically, all we did was remove the difficulty, and the view is exactly the same. And then finally, we have challenge type 1, and that specifies that it's a JavaScript challenge type, as opposed to the other 3 challenge types, which I can actually open up. Well, it's not on this branch, but basically zip lines and base jumps are challenge types, and then HTML-based waypoints are challenge type, and then video, like the old video challenges where there's a video with links, that's also a challenge type.
Okay.
So
but if I put something as 1, it will show up with the, it won't autocomplete anything. It will just, once you click run, then it will check it.
If you put something with 1, yeah, that's correct. And it'll, importantly, that tells it to use this view. Because we have different views for each one that are dynamically chosen in the controller, depending on the challenge type.
Okay.
All right, so we have some more. I think if I complete this, it should take me to the next challenge, right? So, boom. Hopefully it won't take me back to the beginning. Oh man, on this branch, this is broken, so that kind of sucks. But we'll just manually jump from 1 to 1. I don't think it's worth taking the time to try to merge all this in, because what I'll do is I'll just copy all this code out. So you know what I can do? I can actually just copy all this and move it over manually to that branch. That way we can work on the edge branch with all the new stuff on it. Let's do that.
Okay.
So just give me a second to do that.
Sure.
So these are all challenges that I built with Michael Zuniga. So let's get checkout, and we'll go to UX improvements. That's our latest branch. And then I'm going to run gulp here. Actually, I'll kill gulp over here. Run it again. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to seed. Oh wait, before I seed, I need to add these in too. So let's open up courseware, JSON. Scroll all the way to the bottom, and I think this JSON is valid now. It's always challenging without a quick linter. Oh wait, actually I can just hit that and see that it is in fact valid. Sublime has a JSON beautifier, and if it fails to beautify for some reason, that's a good indication that the JSON is not valid. So now I'm going to seed again. Okay, and now we can go back to the view. Actually, I'll just refresh this. This should go. Can I get courseware? Okay, so now I think it's just called challenges. Yeah, it works. And if I complete this one, it's going to take us to the next challenge. And this should be the first of the JavaScript challenges that we created. I wonder why it's taking so long.
And you're saying Michael was
Property
the one that
for
worked on
object
all this?
is not a function. I'm sorry, what did you ask?
Oh, I was saying, are we saying that Michael worked on these?
Yeah, Michael and I paired on them.
Sweet. Challenge type. That's strange. Oh. So this is courseware, this is show video, this is baseline, or is it zipline or base? Okay. So it's saying that one